Most Americans believe they know how power works. They think elections decide everything. They think the president is the final authority. They think Congress writes the rules. But what if none of that is fully true? What if the most important decisions in America are made quietly, by people you never voted for, inside systems you were never taught about? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Power in America doesn't sit in one office. It moves. It hides. And most of the time, it operates far away from cameras, speeches, and campaign promises. Every 4 years, faces change. Presidents come and go. Parties switch. Yet somehow, the system keeps moving in the same direction. Wars continue. Budgets grow. Surveillance expands. Rules multiply. So the real question isn't who wins elections. The real question is, who keeps control when elections are over? Let's start with something simple. When a new president enters the White House, they arrive with ideas, plans, and promises. But on day one, they don't walk into an empty building waiting for instructions. They walk into a massive machine that already exists. Thousands of agencies, millions of employees, rules written decades ago, procedures that cannot be changed overnight. This machine doesn't reset when a president is sworn in. It continues to operate exactly as before. And this is where most people get confused. Because while the president may be the most visible person in the system, visibility is not the same as control. Behind every speech is a briefing. Behind every decision is a filter. Behind every order is a process. Information reaches the president only after passing through layers of advisors, analysts, legal teams, and career officials. What gets included and what gets left out can change everything. And that raises a dangerous question. If power depends on information, then who controls the information? Consider this. A president cannot act on what they don't know. And they cannot know what they are not shown. This doesn't mean there is a conspiracy. It's something far more powerful than that. It's structure. America runs on systems built over generations. These systems were designed for stability, not speed. For continuity, not disruption. And once a system becomes large enough, it begins to protect itself. That's why even powerful presidents often struggle to make lasting change. Not because they are weak, but because the system is strong. Agencies resist. Courts delay. Procedures slow everything down. And slowly the question shifts. It's no longer, what does the president want? It becomes, what will the system allow? This is the part of American power most people never see. Not because it's secret, but because it's boring, complex, and hidden behind paperwork instead of drama. Yet this invisible layer may be the most powerful force in the country. And once you understand how it works, you'll never look at American politics the same way again. In the next part, we'll go deeper into the unelected people, the permanent institutions, and the quiet forces that shape decisions long after elections end. Because if you want to know who really decides in America, you have to stop looking at elections and start looking at the system. If the system has power and unelected institutions shape outcomes, then one question matters more than anything else. Who controls the information? Because no leader, no matter how powerful, can act without knowing what's happening. And in Washington, information does not arrive raw or neutral. It is selected, summarized, and framed long before it reaches the top. Every morning, the president receives briefings. These briefings don't include everything. They include what advisors believe is important, urgent, or safe to show. That decision alone is power. Intelligence reports are filtered. Economic data is simplified. Risks are ranked. Options are narrowed. By the time information reaches the president, it has already passed through many hands. This doesn't require bad intentions. It requires judgment. And judgment is never neutral. What gets emphasized shapes decisions. What gets delayed changes priorities. What gets excluded disappears. Now think about this. If two presidents receive different information, or the same information framed differently, they can make completely different choices. And yet, both believe they are acting freely. This is why information is the most silent form of power in America. It doesn't shout. It doesn't vote. It doesn't campaign. It whispers. Inside agencies, analysts decide what trends matter. Advisors decide what risks are realistic. Legal teams decide what actions are possible. The president chooses, but only from the menu placed in front of them. And this is where power becomes almost invisible. Because from the outside it looks like leadership. From the inside it looks like constraint. There's also pressure. Political pressure. Media pressure. Time pressure. A crisis happens. There is no time to investigate everything. Decisions must be made fast. In those moments, leaders rely even more on the system, on experts, briefers, and advisors. And the system knows this. It has experience. It has memory. It has continuity. The president has urgency. The system has patience. This is why dramatic change is rare. Even when leaders promise it. Even when voters demand it. Because real power doesn't just decide. It delays. It reframes. It redirects. And often, by the time the public sees a decision, the most important choices have already been made behind the scenes. This leads to a strange reality. America is a democracy. But it is also a managed system. Elections matter. But structure matters more. Presidents influence direction. But the system controls speed. And once you understand this, American politics stops looking chaotic and starts looking predictable. In the next part, we'll connect everything together. We'll answer the question directly. If it's not the president alone, not Congress alone, and not elections alone, then who actually decides in America? And more importantly, what does that mean for the future? So after everything we've seen, the answer becomes clear. There is no single person who decides everything in America. Power doesn't sit in one office. It doesn't belong to one election. And it doesn't disappear when a leader leaves. Power in America is distributed across institutions, rules, information, and time. The president matters. Congress matters. The courts matter. But none of them act alone. What actually decides outcomes is the interaction between them, a system built to move slowly, resist shocks, and survive change. This is why American government often feels frustrating. Why promises take years. Why reforms stall. Why change comes in small steps instead of big leaps. It's not because leaders don't want change. It's because the system is designed to absorb pressure without breaking. And that design has consequences. On one hand, it prevents sudden chaos. On the other, it limits transformation. Unelected officials bring expertise and stability. Elected leaders bring vision and legitimacy. But when these forces collide, stability usually wins. That's not a conspiracy. It's structure. Once you see this, American politics looks less like a battle of personalities and more like a long negotiation between past decisions and future demand. And this leads to the most important realization of all. Democracy doesn't end on election day. It begins there. Real influence happens after the votes are counted, inside agencies, courts, committees, and meetings that never make headlines. That doesn't mean citizens are powerless. It means power requires more than voting. It requires attention, understanding, and pressure that lasts longer than a news cycle. Because systems don't respond to noise. They respond to sustained focus. So the next time you hear a politician promise change, don't just ask what they want to do. Ask, who will implement it? Who will interpret it? Who can slow it down? Who controls the information? Those questions matter more than slogans. And the next time someone says, "The president decides everything," remember this. The president is powerful, but the system is permanent. And permanence is the strongest form of power there is. If this video changed how you see American politics, let me know in the comments. And if you want to understand how power really works, not just who holds the microphone, subscribe. Because in the next video, we're going even deeper into the rules, rooms, and decisions Americans never get to see. Power doesn't always look loud. Sometimes, it looks invisible. So now you know the truth. Elections don't tell the full story. The president may be the face of power, but the real decisions often happen behind the scenes, in systems, agencies, and offices that most Americans never see. This is where influence truly lives. Quiet, invisible, yet unstoppable. And that's the question I want to leave you with. If the most powerful decisions aren't made by the people you vote for, then who is really in charge? Think about it. Talk about it. Watch the system carefully next time a big decision is announced. If you found this video eye-opening, make sure you subscribe, because in the next video, we'll dive even deeper into the rules, rooms, and people who quietly shape America. Comment below. What surprised you the most? Who do you think really controls the decisions we see in the news? Remember, power isn't always visible, but it's always working. See you in the next video.